Ah, there you are, my dear friend. I was beginning to wonder if the hush of the night had tucked you in elsewhere. But no, you've always had a good sense for quiet places. You found your way here, as I knew you would, in time. Come, sit beside me. Just here, yes, where the moss is thick and forgiving beneath us. It's soft, isn't it? Cushioned by rain and centuries, a bed made by the forest herself. I've spent more than a few evenings upon this patch, and I dare say it's never let me down. Like an old friend with no need for words, only warmth and room enough to rest. Lean back a little if you'd like. The roots of the willow behind us curve just so broad and low, like the bent spine of some ancient beast sleeping with us in peace. They cradle the back as kindly as any padded throne ever could. I often wonder how long she stood here, this great tree watching over the stream as it passes again and again, like breath through the chest of the land. Do you hear it? The water, not rushing, not hurried, just passing. Slow and steady. It has a voice of its own, doesn't it? A low murmur, full of secrets it will never speak aloud. Sometimes I imagine it's humming, not to us, but for us. A song, older than roads or names or steel. And the light, see it there, the lantern. I lit it before dusk fell completely, when the last sunbeam dipped beneath the hills and the air began to cool. It doesn't burn bright, no, it was never meant to. Just a gentle flame, no larger than a curled finger. Enough to keep the dark soft, enough to let us see one another's eyes and the curve of a smile. The glow flickers against the bark, dancing like memories too old to grasp clearly. I like the way it paints the branches in amber, don't you? Makes the world feel as though it's exhaling, not ending, just settling, wrapping itself in a blanket of shadows and sighs. A night like this, it asks for no plans, no thoughts of tomorrow, no echoes of battles or burdens or names carried too long. Only stillness, only breath, only company. You arrived at just the right time. The birds have begun their evening chorus, fewer now, softer, a nightjar perhaps, calling out once or twice beyond the reeds. The rest, I think, are already tucked beneath wing and branch, letting the moon take her turn keeping watch. And the sky, oh, my friend, she's dressed in deep velvet now, not quite black, more like a shade between navy and dream. And just there, do you see, the first of the stars blinking gently into place like someone remembering an old tune. They never rush, those stars. They don't need, they always arrive when they're meant to. Let us match their pace, you and I. There's no need for words right away. You can close your eyes if you'd like. Or just listen. Let the quiet fold around you like a cloak, soft wool, worn thin at the shoulders, but heavy in just the right way. Even the fire, well, I suppose it's hardly a fire at all, is it? Just that lantern, but it's enough to hold the shadows gently. Enough to warm the air between us. I brought it with me many years ago, and it's followed me ever since. Not because I asked it to, but because some things once lit don't like to go out, not when they've still got stories left to witness. And now it watches over us, a flame for two souls at rest. You and I, here beneath the willow, with nothing but time and hush and each other. So breathe, my dear friend. Slowly now. In and out. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let the weight slide off you like a heavy coat on warmer ground. There's nothing you must do. Nowhere to be. Only this moment, and this place, and the steady presence of someone who is glad you're here. You are welcome. Utterly. You are safe. Entirely. And the night is ours. Do you feel that, my friend? The way the cool settles into the air. Not sharp but gentle. Like a cloak drawn close. Not for defense but comfort. We've come to the part of the evening where even the wind seems to tread lightly. Nothing rushes now. Nothing stirs unless it wishes to. Look above us. The willow stretches her long arms wide, letting them sway and whisper with every passing breeze. Each limb droops like silk hung from a high rafter, heavy with age and grace. The leaves tremble just a little, brushing against one another with the softest hiss. It's not a sound you hear so much as feel, deep in the chest, like a lullaby for the bones. Her branches have sheltered many a soul, I imagine. Perhaps a wayfarer with muddy boots, perhaps two lovers sharing secrets. And now, us, you and I, beneath the same boughs, sharing the same breath of night. And the scent here, it's rich, isn't it? The loam beneath us is soaked in 1,000 rains and sunlit days. It smells of wet bark and quiet growth, of moss curling over stone, and the faint sweetness of some unseen bloom. Pine lingers at the edge of it, a deeper, sharper note carried down from the hills, where the wind gathers its thoughts before it meanders through this hollow. Breathe it in, slowly now. There, let it fill your chest. Let it anchor you to the earth. No spice, no smoke, no clamor, just forest and stream and the hush between stars. To your right, the lantern glows. It's not much of flame, barely bigger than a thimbleful of oil. But oh, how it makes the bark gleam. Look at that light play upon the willow's trunk. Golden warm like honey spilled across old wood. It flickers now and then, but never falters. It isn't trying to illuminate the world, only this moment, only us. And listen, just there, the stream, it slides over smooth stones like silk drawn across polished oak. The water carries its own kind of language, don't you think? Not made for ears, but for hearts. It says, I am here. I have always been here. And I am in no hurry. That's the sort of voice I trust. One that doesn't need to prove itself. Sometimes the moonlight catches on the surface, bending it into ribbons of silver. But tonight the moon is still climbing, and so the water wears only the color of dusk, deep and dim, like slate, softened by time. Just beyond the far bank. Do you see it? There, heron, tall and still as a carved post. Legs like reeds, feathers pale in the lantern's glow. It watches the water with a patience I can only admire. No urgency in its stance. No need to chase. Only stillness. It knows that what it needs will come in time. I wonder how many evenings that bird has stood there. Or if it's the same one I saw last week, or the week before. It doesn't really matter, does it? And there, listen again. A bell, faint, but steady, ringing out from the monastery far to the east, where the stone towers rise above the misty hills like fingers in prayer. It tolls slowly, each note like a drop of warm tea on a cold tongue. Evening has come, it says. All is well. Rest now. Rest. The sound drifts here on a ribbon of air, barely brushing our ears. But it reaches the heart, just the same. Even the creatures of the wood seem to know it's time to pause. The crickets hum, of course, always do. But their song is soft tonight, less a chorus and more a murmur, as if they too don't wish to interrupt. An owl may call later, perhaps two if we're lucky. I like their voices, those low, thoughtful questions whispered into the trees, and underfoot, the moss. The moss. Have you ever pressed your palm into it? Go on, try. It yields like fresh bread, springs back like memory. This patch, right here where we've settled, is thick with years. I've seen tapestries in kingly halls that don't match its softness. It drinks in the quiet, keeps it, offers it back in silence, like a secret passed between trusted friends. Every inch of this place, every stone, every blade of grass, every drifting bit of mist, it all seems to agree that there is no better place to be than here, no better hour than now. Even the sky leans down to listen. You can't see the stars just yet. The clouds are scattered thin across the heavens, smudges of gray and violet, with edges like frayed cloth. But soon the night will show its diamonds, and they'll blink into place, one by one, like tiny promises lit from within. We can wait for them together. There's something in the air, isn't there? A kind of expectant stillness. Not heavy, no, just full of the kind of peace that doesn't shout or shine. The kind you only notice when you stop reaching for anything at all. So let your thoughts settle. Let them sink like pebbles into the stream. There's no need to hold on to any of them now. Here, in this quiet fold of the world, you are free to just be, to rest, to breathe, to soften. I've spent many evenings beneath this willow. I've watched the lantern flicker through rain and fog and moonlight. But tonight, with you here beside me, it feels just a little warmer, a little brighter. The kind of brightness that doesn't come from fire or flame, but from company. The world is wide, yes, but it also knows how to be still. And tonight, it is still with us. So close your eyes, if you wish, or keep them open and watch the wind move through the leaves above. The willow will whisper her old stories either way. The stream will hum its tune. The heron will wait. The bell will fade. And you, my dear friend, you are welcome to stay as long as you like. Yes, this is good. Right here, under these branches beside the stream, with you. No need for introductions. Not really. Not tonight. I'm not much for titles anymore. I've had a few in my time, you know, ones that echoed down halls and made strangers bow a little lower. But I left them behind like boots too stiff for the road. Now, I wear no crest, no name on my tongue save the ones I whisper in memory. But still, you know me. You always have, haven't you? I suppose if I were to describe myself now, I would say I'm quiet. Not because I lack words, no, but because silence suits me better these days. Like this moss suits the roots, grown together over time. There was a time when my limbs knew nothing but motion, feet hardened by the road, shoulders burdened not just with armor but with purpose. I moved from village to valley to castle, from forest to frost to field again, always in search of something that gleamed brighter just over the horizon. But the road is long, and the world, my friend, she has her own rhythm. You can walk until your boots fall apart and still not reach the end of her teachings. And so, slowly, gently, I stopped walking. These days I spend more time with trees than with men. More time listening to the breath of the land than to orders barked or oaths exchanged. I find great peace in that. There's a kind of honesty in the stillness that I never found in the clamor. My back. Ah, yes. It creaks like old timber now. My knees sing their own sad tune when I rise. But there's no shame in that. I've walked many winters to earn these aches. And besides, I've learned how to rest well. How to lean into the earth instead of bracing against it. Rest is a strange gift, isn't it? You don't realize how rare it is until you've carried too much for too long. Now my body finds comfort in simple things. A mossy root for a chair. A lantern's glow. The company of a dear friend who asks for nothing but presence. And my heart, well, it aches, yes, but not from sorrow. Not exactly. It's more like the ache you feel when looking at an old painting, one you've not seen in years. The kind that reminds you of something you'd forgotten you loved. There's longing in me, true, but it's not for battles, or banners or songs of glory sung loud by firesides. No, I long for gentler things. The warmth of a well-worn cup between my palms. The curve of a bird's wing as it folds into sleep. The sound of rain tapping on a thatched roof. The feeling just like now of sitting beside someone who doesn't ask you to be anything but exactly as you are. And that, I think, is what I treasure most these days. Not gold, not triumph, but moments like this. I've met many souls on my path. Some stayed a while, others passed like wind through leaves. But very few ever truly sat beside me. Not just beside my body, but beside my quiet, beside the part of me that has no need to prove, or protect, or pretend. But you are one of those few. You listen with more than ears. You see with more than eyes. That's why this place feels more whole with you here. Do you ever notice how silence deepens when it's shared? Not in a heavy way. No, like two voices resting in the same breath. I suppose I've always been a little drawn to the in-between spaces. Twilight, rather than noon or midnight. The cusp of spring, when winter's bones still lie beneath the thaw. A single note, held between two chords. There's a kind of magic in those moments. A softness, a truth, and perhaps that's what I've become, in my own way. An in-between, not young, not old, not forgotten, but no longer sought. Not a sword, not a story, just a soul with soil beneath their nails and a lantern in their hands. And that's enough, more than enough. Some nights, I feel the memory of old roads tug at me, like the echo of a dream you can't quite place. I think of the hills I walked, the inns I passed through, the hands I held. I think of distant bells, of wildflowers growing along stone walls, of lullabies sung in languages I never learned to speak, but somehow understood. They all live inside me still, not as burdens, not as regret, but as gentle ghosts, whispers, not weights. I carry them the way I carry the light of this lantern, close to the chest, cupped in quiet reverence. And tonight, I share that light with you, not to guide your steps, but simply to show you that you are not alone in this hush. You are seen, you are safe, you are welcome. So here I am, friend, not a knight in shining anything, just a soul at rest. And here you are. Welcome, welcome indeed. We've both come a long way to reach this stillness. And now that we're here, we need not go anywhere else. You see that lantern? just there by my side. Its light is low now, barely more than a whisper against the bark, but it's enough. Just enough to hold the darkness at bay without trying to banish it. That little flame, it's followed me for many years, and like many things we carry, its worth was never in its weight, but in what it held. I was gifted this lantern a long time ago, in a place high in the mountains, higher than most folk ever bother to climb unless they're in search of something, or running from something, or perhaps just lost between the two. I was younger then, not young, mind you, just younger. The kind of younger that still thinks the road has something grand waiting at the end of it, if you just press on long enough. I had walked all day through mist and wind, the path slick with rain, the sky brooding low. My cloak was soaked through, and my thoughts were growing as heavy as my boots. Every step seemed to echo with questions I couldn't answer, and I remember thinking, just a place to stop, just for the night. That would be enough. And I found it, or perhaps it found me, tucked beneath a ridge of stone, barely more than a shelter, carved into the slope. A way station, they called it, though it looked more like a forgotten hut, crouched between rocks and draped in ivy like it had fallen asleep there long before I was born. The woman who tended it. I never learned her name, but she had the look of someone who had stopped asking the world for anything. Not out of bitterness, no, but because she had already gathered what little she needed and left the rest to wander off on its own. Her eyes were lined and kind, her hands strong, though one of them trembled ever so slightly when she poured me a cup of something hot and root sweet. She didn't ask what I was doing there, didn't question my boots or the sword at my hip or the weariness in my voice. She only showed me to the hearth, where a fire had already been coaxed into life, and left me to warm beside it. There was a hush in that little shelter. Not silence, but something deeper. A listening sort of quiet. The kind you find in a place that has witnessed more than it will ever say aloud. We didn't speak much that night. A few words about the wind. A murmur about the stew. And then, just before I turned in, she handed me this lantern. Not grand or gilded. Just brass and glass and the scent of old oil. It was already lit, flame steady inside. I remember how she placed it in my hand, not ceremoniously, but with intention, like she'd been waiting for someone to pass it to. Like it had been waiting too, she said, only this. The dark isn't always trying to frighten you. Sometimes it's just tired. Give it something soft to hold, and that was all. No riddles, no blessings, no meaning spelled out. Just a lantern, a flame, and a kindness I hadn't known I'd needed. I stayed until morning. The rain had stopped by then, and when I stepped back onto the road, that little lantern came with me. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's just a light. Just a thing to burn oil and keep the shadows from getting too bold. And yes, perhaps that's all it was to someone else. But to me, it became something more. Not a tool, but a companion, a gentle reminder, a thread of warmth I could carry, even in the coldest places. It never flared too bright, never demanded attention, but it never once went out. So long as I tended it with care. I've kept it by my side in all manner of places. At the edge of forests where wolves howled far off, though I was never in danger. On mountaintops with no shelter where the stars spilled over the rim of the sky like a goblet tipped too far. In small chapels with crumbling walls and dust-thick air, where I once waited for dawn beside a statue worn faceless by time. And each time when I set it down, I felt not guarded, but grounded, That woman, that night, she gave me more than a lantern. She gave me permission to rest, to believe that light didn't need to be blinding to be worth carrying. I think about her sometimes, especially on nights like this. I wonder if she's still tending some hidden shelter in another corner of the world. Or maybe she's long gone now, her own light passed on. But wherever she is, the warmth of that moment lingers with me still. You see, my friend, the world often asks us to shine, or be seen, or make noise enough to be heard. But there is a quiet strength in small lights, in steady things, in the choice to offer warmth without asking for praise. That's the kind of quest I've come to cherish. Not one of dragons or banners, or treasures won with steel, but one of meaning, woven gently through moments. A journey of tending to the little flame given to you, and choosing again and again to let it burn for others to rest beside. Like now, you, here beside me. The lantern between us, burning low, and no need to speak more than this. So many years have passed since that rainy night, yet I can still feel the shape of that old way station in my bones. I can still hear the soft clatter of the spoon in her hand, the hush of the fire curling around stone. I can still feel the warmth of her gaze, quiet and enduring. That memory lives in this lantern. It glows with every kindness I've ever been shown, and every kindness I've chosen to pass along. I suppose that's the real journey, isn't it? Not towards some far horizon, but deeper into the meaning of what we carry. Not how far we go, but how gently we walk, and how softly we offer light. So let it shine, my friend, this little flame between us. It doesn't ask for more than a bit of oil and a steady hand, and it offers all the warmth we need. Perhaps that is enough for tonight. A single light, a shared silence, and the soft memory of a stranger's gift, glowing still through the years. The lantern. You know, it's strange how something so small, so quiet, can become such a steady companion. A simple brass frame, a bit of glass, a flame no taller than a thumb. And yet, it's carried more than just light over the years. There were nights, many of them, when that lantern and I were the only two warm things in a cold world. I remember a road, narrow, barely more than a deer path, winding through a wood thick with pine. The trees stood tall and close, like watchmen, silent and unmoving. Fog had rolled in after dusk, and the moon was too shy to show herself. I walked with the lantern swinging low at my side, its glow reaching only a few steps ahead. But somehow that was enough. I didn't need to see the whole way, only the next few paces, and I found that comforting. The dark wasn't an enemy, it was simply waiting for its turn to speak. The moths came then, dozens perhaps more, fluttering in and out of the light like thoughts too fleeting to hold. Wings, soft as memory, moving in patterns that made no sense to the eye but seemed somehow purposeful. One even landed on the edge of the glass and rested there, as if it too was tired of chasing. I stood still for a long while, just watching. The world didn't need me to move that night. It only needed me to see. Another time, the lantern and I found shelter beneath a half-collapsed arch, some forgotten remnant of a chapel or gate. I never did find out which. The wind had teeth that evening, and the rain came sideways. I tucked myself beneath what was left of the stone and lit the lantern with shaking hands. The oil caught quickly, as if it too had been waiting for warmth. And then I reached for the letter. It had been folded and refolded. So many times the creases were soft as worn linen. I read it aloud, quietly, not because I thought anyone might hear, but because the words deserved breath. The lantern made the ink shimmer faintly, even as the drops pattered on the stone above. There was something sacred in that moment. Me, the storm, the letter, and that patient flame. And once, this one stays with me. I found myself in a small village tucked between two ridgelines, long after sunset. A child there was frightened of the dark. He wouldn't say why. Children don't always need reasons the way we do. Sometimes a shadow is simply too big, too quiet, too unsure. His mother was kind, though tired, and her eyes asked for help before her voice ever did. So I gave the boy the lantern, not to keep, just for the night. I told him it was a flame passed down from the mountains from a woman who knew how to tame the dark. He believed me instantly, as children do when you speak from the heart. He held it close all through the night, and I sat just outside the door listening to the wind stir the shutters. In the morning, when I returned it, he told me the lantern had whispered to him. He said it told him not to worry, that it would stay awake while he slept. And you know, I believed that too. It's funny how something you carry for yourself can end up holding light for others. That's what the lantern became, over time. Not just a tool, but a kind of companion memory. A keeper of quiet chapters. There was a winter, bitter and long, when I stayed with an old friend in the southern lowlands. We'd both grown older by then, and the nights came early. He'd sit by the hearth and I would set the lantern nearby, not because we needed it, but because it felt right. It filled the corners with something softer than firelight. It filled the spaces between words. Sometimes we wouldn't talk for an hour or more. Just the creak of wood, the shuffle of cloaks, the occasional hum when one of us remembered a tune too faint to sing. And when he passed on, gently, quietly in his sleep, I left the lantern by his bedside for one more night. One more night to keep him company, to say, "You are not alone, even now." You see, it was never just the light, it was what the light carried. Moments, fragments of time you can't hold in your hands, but feel settle in your chest, like warmth drawn through your ribs after a cup of mulled wine. That lantern has known laughter too. Not just silence and sighs. There were evenings around campfires, when a lute was passed, and the stars overhead blinked like they were laughing with us. Someone would tell a story twice as long as it needed to be, and twice as good for it, and the lantern would sit there beside us all, its light mingling with the flames, adding just a little gold to the shadows behind our backs. And once, in a grove of ash trees, I lit it before dawn and watched the world wake up. The dew caught the glow and scattered it in 1,000 tiny sparkles. A fox passed by, not 3 strides away, paused, and looked at me. I nodded. It nodded back. No fear, no rush. Just a shared moment in the hush between darkness and day. That's what I came to love most about it, I think. The hush. The way it never broke the silence, only deepened it. A lantern doesn't ask to be the sun. It knows its place is among the gentle things. A guide when you're not sure. A comfort when you are. It's there when you need to read a name carved into old wood. There when a friend needs to find your tent in the dark. There when you wake before dawn, uncertain of what the day will bring. There, always there, but never loud, never proud. Sometimes I'd set it at the edge of a field and watch it from afar, just to see what the world looked like when lit from a distance. It reminded me that warmth doesn't always have to come from close by. Sometimes it's enough just to know it's there. And now, here we are, you and I beneath this willow. The stream sings softly, the night holds its breath, and that same flame flickers just beside us, older now, a bit dimmer perhaps, but still steady, still faithful. It's strange, isn't it? How one small thing can carry so much of us within it. How something so simple can become a thread, stitching together so many moments across so many years. That lantern, it's held light. Yes, but more than that, it has held presence. The feeling of being somewhere, and of being seen there. Of being part of the hush, not apart from it. And tonight, it shines for us. Not to lead us anywhere, but to remind us that we've arrived. That this moment, this stillness, this shared breath in the dark, is enough. You need not remember every path that brought you here, nor guess the paths still to come. You only need to rest, and let the light do what it was always meant to do. Keep the hush warm, and the night kind. We've had many moments, this lantern and I, but this one, with you, this might be the gentlest of them all. You know, my friend, the older I've grown, the more I've come to believe it isn't the grand things that hold the world together. Not the banners, or the crowns, or the stone towers that reach for the sky. Those things, they catch the eye, yes. They fill stories, fill songs, but they don't fill the soul. Not what truly holds it all is smaller, quieter, softer, little things like this flame between us. It doesn't roar, it doesn't consume, it flickers, humbly, gently, and yet it's enough to soften the dark, enough to warm the space between you and me, enough to draw moths and memories and sighs from the weary. I've come to see that gentleness, true gentleness, isn't weakness at all. No, it's one of the rarest strength. It takes strength to be soft in a world that too often demands sharp edges. It takes courage to remain kind, when it might be easier to raise your voice or your shield. But light, true light, asks nothing of us. It doesn't shout or chase or conquer. It simply offers itself, and trusts that that is enough. I've met many souls in my time, some who walk like storms, always charging, always shaking the world beneath them. But their fires burned hot and fast, and often left cinders where they passed. And others, well, they were like this lantern, steady, quiet, unassuming. But they gave more warmth than they ever took. You'd forget their name, perhaps, but not their presence, not the way they made you feel seen and safe, and somehow softer in their company. There was a baker in a seaside town. Her hands were always dusted with flour, her hair always tucked back in a way that never stayed for long. She never once raised her voice, even when the queue wrapped around her shop. But every loaf she handed over came with a smile. Not the kind you wear out of habit, but the kind you mean. People came from villages away, not just for the bread, but for her kindness, for that brief moment of being met with warmth, when the rest of the world felt cold. She once told me, kindness is a quiet fire. If you tend it, others will gather. And I've never forgotten that. I think perhaps we're all carrying little fires. Some we were given, some we kindled ourselves, and some were sparked by the gentle presence of someone else, often when we needed it most. Sometimes, I wonder how many of those lights go unseen. A child who offers half a roll to a bird, a hand laid gently on a shoulder, saying, "You're not alone." The quiet act of listening, truly listening, when someone doesn't know how to ask for help. All of it, tiny flames, moments of warmth past, like lanterns along a darkened path. We speak often of strength in arms, or strength in will. But what of strength in softness? What of the one who chooses not to strike? What of the one who forgives, not because it's easy, but because it is right? That, I think, is the strongest kind of soul. And they rarely sit upon thrones. They sit beside bedsides, beside hearths, beneath trees like this one, holding lanterns like ours, whispering peace. You see, my friend, there's a kind of light we carry that has no flame, no wick, no oil. It burns in the quiet choice to care, in the gentle hand that helps without expecting thanks, in the voice that soothes rather than stirs. And I truly believe, that light is what keeps the world from unraveling. Not power, not fear, not control, but simple, unspoken acts of grace, the ones that ripple outward, long after we've forgotten their beginning. I think often of an old man I met. He had been a scribe in a monastery, bent with age, his fingers ink-stained and trembling. He told me once, with a soft chuckle, that he'd copied more prayers than he'd ever said aloud, but he believed each letter carried its own kind of blessing, even if the voice behind it was silent. Every mark is a kindness, he said, even if no one sees who wrote it. Isn't that something? The idea that what we leave behind, no matter how small, might warm someone we'll never meet, that a gesture, a smile, a single candle lit in the dark, might one day be the reason someone keeps going. I find great comfort in that, in the notion that our gentleness doesn't end with us. It moves on, passed like a thread through time, stitching moments together. You, for instance, you carry a light, whether you feel it or not. I can see it in the way you sit beside me without needing to speak, in the way your presence adds to the hush rather than breaks it. That is a rare gift. Not loud, but lasting, and it matters more than most will ever know. I sometimes think of the stars, scattered above like scattered seeds, each one distant, small from where we sit. And yet, how many travelers have found their way because of a single star? How many songs have been sung in their honor? How many dreams shaped beneath their quiet gaze? Not all lights are meant to blind. Some are meant to guide, to watch, to remind. That's the light I believe in, the one you carry, the one I try to keep lit within me too. It isn't always easy. There are days when it flickers, when the wind howls and the wick grows thin. But those are the days we need to remember what the flame is for. Not for show, not for pride, but for warmth, to hold close, to share when we can, to keep burning gently until the dawn returns. So rest here, dear friend. You've done enough for today. Let your shoulders lower. Let your thoughts drift. The world is still turning, yes, but it can do so without us for a while. We are allowed this stillness, this moment of hush, this soft flame between us. The lantern burns low, but it is not fading. It is resting, just as we are. And in this quiet I feel, not because of what I've done, but because of what I've come to understand, that it is not might nor glory that makes a life full, but love, given freely, kindness, quietly offered, and the light we pass along, without fanfare, because it is needed. So if ever you doubt your place in the world, if ever you wonder whether you've done enough, been enough, mattered enough, remember this moment, this flame, this peace, this truth. You have carried light. You have warmed the dark. And that is more than enough. Yes. Do you feel that, my dear friend? The way the night deepens, not darkens, no, deepens, as though the world is drawing in a long, slow breath and holding it for a little while, not in tension, but in stillness, in reverence. The fire, such as it is, burns low now. The lantern's flame has grown softer still, a quiet golden hush cradled in glass. It doesn't reach far, just to our hands, the folds of our cloaks, the gentle curve of the moss beneath us, and it doesn't need to reach farther than that, because everything that matters is already here. The stream beside us flows on, steady as ever. It hasn't once hurried, not since we sat down. And the willow, listen, she hasn't stopped whispering, either. Her voice is a language older than ours, all rustle and sigh, leaf brushing against leaf, like a lullaby too old to carry a name. And me. I've spoken much tonight, haven't I? More than I often do. But something in this place, in your company, in this hush, it asks for truth. Not loud or urgent, but gentle truths, the kind that float to the surface when the world has grown quiet enough to listen. And the truth is, I am tired, not in the way of the body, though that too, but in the way of those who've wandered long and come to realize that they no longer seek. Once the lantern burned because I needed its warmth, its guidance, its watchful eye through unknown nights. But now it burns, because I remember. Each flicker is a memory, not of glory or conquest. No, those stories dim with time, but of laughter shared beneath a slanting roof, of silence held between old friends, of letters opened in the rain, of a child sleeping soundly, because a stranger left a light. Keep the lantern lit, not for where I'm going, but for where I've been, not for what I fear, but for what I've cherished. And here, beneath this willow, it is enough. There is a kind of peace that comes only at the end of a long road. Not the end of the path, mind you. I don't claim to be finished, but a pause, a resting place, where the wind quiets and the sky leans down low to wrap you in a darker blue. This moment, it feels like that, like a deep exhale. So I lean back, a little farther now, feel the root of the tree press gently against my spine. It's cool, smooth, like stone that remembers the sun. I let my shoulders drop, let the cloak fall heavier against me. Let my hands come to rest, palm to palm, thumb to thumb. And in this stillness I listen, not to answer, not to speak, only to be part of it all. The willow's hush, the stream's quiet song, the distant call of a lone night bird, the steady breath beside me, yours. Yes, I hear you too. Not the sound of words, but the presence of someone who is here, truly here, and that means more than you know. There's no need to do anything more tonight. No more stories to tell. No more truths to unfold. Just this place. This stillness, this shared breath in the dark. I sometimes think of all the nights I've spent beneath skies like this one. The places blur in my memory, different forests, different stones, different winds. But the feeling is the same. The knowing deep in my bones that I am allowed to rest. That I don't need to chase meaning tonight. I can simply be. The lantern still burns beside me. It's smaller now, yes, but steady as it ever was, and I know it will last the night. Not because it is strong, but because it is tended, because I've learned to care for it, not just in oil and wick, but in intention, in memory, in love. And so, too, do we endure, not because we blaze like suns, but because we choose to glow, quietly, kindly, faithfully. There's something sacred about this hour, don't you think? This fold in time where day has long slipped away, but tomorrow has not yet begun. It belongs to neither task nor tale, only to the heart, only to the hush. And in this hush, I find peace, not the peace of resolution, but of release, the peace of knowing that everything is, for now, enough. The world continues to turn, yes. The stars drift slowly overhead, but we need not follow them tonight. We can remain right here. This patch of moss remembers us. The tree above welcomes us. The lantern burns for us, and my heart, old though it is, feels light tonight. Not from joy exactly, nor from sorrow, but from something quieter still, from presence, from gratitude, from you. I suppose that's the real gift of this moment. Not that it dazzles, but that it settles, like dust in a sunbeam, slow and sure and golden. My breathing slows now. Yours too, I think. Even the stream seems to soften its song. And perhaps that's the sign, isn't it? That the night has drawn its blanket across our shoulders and asked nothing more of us than to rest. So I will. I'll let my thoughts drift like leaves on a pond. Let my hands loosen, my jaw unclench. Let the last of my words trail off into the hush. But before they do, let me say this. Thank you, my dear friend, for sitting beside me, for listening, for being. The lantern still burns, not because it must, but because it can, because it chooses to. And tonight, so do I. Let the willow whisper above us. Let the stars take their watch. Let the flame glow low and true, and let us rest fully, deeply, without need or name, just here, just now, together. Yes, that's it. My dear friend, you've been so quiet, and I can feel the weight in your breath now, the gentle kind, the kind that comes when the day has let go of you, and you've let go of it too. Thank you. Thank you for sitting here beside me, for listening, for sharing this hush. It means more than I could ever say aloud. But I think you feel it, don't you? The way the night has drawn itself around us like a cloak. Not heavy, just warm. Even the willow has quieted now. Her whispers are softer still, like the last words of a lullaby, drifting away on the wind. The stream continues its song, low, steady, a rhythm older than speech. It doesn't ask to be heard. It simply is, just like this moment. Just like the lantern still glows beside us. Steady, small, beautiful. Its flame is thinner now, but unwavering, like the last golden thread of a dream you hope to keep hold of, just a little longer. It doesn't try to banish the dark. It welcomes it, softens it, and so do we. I want you to know, you've given me a gift tonight, not of gold or stories or song, though all of those are fine in their way, but the gift of your presence, of your quiet trust, of simply being here, with me, beneath these stars and these branches and this slowly deepening sky. It's no small thing, you know, to choose stillness, to share rest. Rest? Yes. I think of all the treasures I've chased in my life, and there have been many, rest is the one I now value most. Not sleep alone, though sleep is sweet, but true rest, the kind that eases the heart, the kind that asks nothing of you but to breathe and be and know that you are enough. That's what this place offers. That's what you have allowed, and tonight it is shared freely, completely. So let yourself drift, my friend. Let the thoughts slow. Let the edges soften. You need not carry anything more tonight. Not even your name. The lantern will keep watch. And so will I. You may close your eyes now, if they haven't already. You may let go of the story. Let go of the day. Let go of the path ahead and the road behind. There is no more to seek, no more to do. Just this moment, this breath, this peace. Sleep well, dear friend. The light is still burning, and I am still here.